Let's go ahead and take a look at these two pens, and this is the Rotring Isograph 0.35, the Rotring Isograph 0.18. This one's got the yellow ring around it, and this one has the red ring. And I was asked about the nib sizes for these pens and which one I prefer to draw with, or which one is most recommended. Now these are the two that I have. I actually do have another one here, but it's a different pen. This is by Staedler, and I did have a 0.25, but I was having problems with the nib on that one. I think it was slightly bent just a little bit, and I couldn't get it to draw. I don't know how it got bent, but the two that we're going to be looking at today is the 0.35 and the 0.18. So these are the two that I draw with, and you might be wondering, why does he not have it 0.25? Well, if I did have it, I would show you if the nib of the pen wasn't bent. But the reason I have the 0.35 and the 0.18 is because the size of the nib between the 0.35 here and the 0.25 is very similar. There's not much of a size difference between them, and because of that, I didn't really see the point in me drawing with the 0.25 along with the 0.35. So I went down to the 0.18, a little bit smaller than the 0.25. So when I'm drawing, I use the 0.35 here for, I'd say, most of the drawing, maybe for filling in large areas, drawing the outlines of things, and filling in a lot of cross-hatching. Now the 0.18 is what I will use if I have areas that I want to put a lot of detail in, or if I really want fine detailed cross-hatching, or if I'm drawing a portion of a face and I'm doing details around where the face is, such as the areas that need a lot of detail, which should be around the eyes. Or if I'm doing drawings of trees, bark, leaves, or things that are very small, I will switch over to the 0.18. And we'll take a look at the line size between these two. So this is the 0.35. That is the line width there. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the 0.18. Let me zoom in here for you so you can get a better look. That'll focus. One second. There we go. Okay, so as you can see there's not that much of a difference that would be there if I was drawing with the 0.35. So you've got the 0.25 rather. So you've got the 0.35 here, yellow, and the 0.18. Now if I had gotten the 0.25, the line width is so similar to the 0.35 that I wouldn't really see much of a reason to draw with it, unless you're doing something very technical, such as something that's some kind of drawing for architecture design. But the 0.18 is a little bit smaller than the 0.35, but it's enough of a difference to where if I was drawing with these two, I would have a reason to switch over to the 0.18. And the 0.35 is really good for filling in areas. Now, if you want a pen that's really good, even better than the 0.35 filling in areas, I would actually go with the 0.5. I think if you go over the 0.5, depending on what type of paper you have, you might have problems with the ink bleeding through, because it lets out so much ink that if you have a thin paper, then it's going to bleed through the paper and get on the next pages. So I think anything over a 0.5 might start to bleed over to the other pages. But if you got really thick paper, such as really smooth Bristol paper, then you'll be fine using any size of the Rotring Isographs to fill in large areas. And the 0.18 here, I'll give you a demonstration of when I'm doing fine details for cross hatching. So I'll go in with a pen like this. And that will let me get my really intricate, fine little details. If I was drawing something around an eye, or drawing those little details, maybe even the reflections inside. But for the 0.35, I will use that mostly for filling in larger areas and drawing outlines. Sometimes I'll use it for filling in these darker areas of the drawing where there's not going to be much of any light at all. So let's go ahead and take a look and compare how it looks if I'm just moving the pen around and trying to fill in an area. So let's try this with the 0.35. That's pretty good. You might be used to being able to fill in areas faster, but these are more fragile nib pens. I mean, they're not fragile in the sense that they wear out fast. I mean, these pens will last you many years if you clean them and take good care of them. It's just that you want to be careful not damaging the nib. I did do a tutorial about how to hold these pens, so go ahead and watch that. So let's go ahead and take a look at this here. I'm going to try to fill in an area with the 0.18. And as you can see here, it's going to take me a little bit longer. I would say with the 0.18, it probably takes maybe twice as long to fill in an area as it would with the 0.35. It depends on the flow of the ink. The 0.35, you have a larger area, and the ink's going to be flowing quicker. So obviously you're going to be filling in faster. But this one I like to use for doing detailed cross-hatching or little tiny details, and this one's for filling in and the rest of my drawing. I would say that I use the 0.35 probably 80% of the time, and I use the 0.18 20% of the time in my drawings. Now, if I'm going to have just one pen to draw with, as far as nib size, I would pick the 0.35. Anything larger, you're not going to be able to do much detail because there's just going to be such large lines. And anything smaller than the 0.35 is so detailed that it's going to take a long time to fill in things. So I recommend two pen sizes that if you want to be able to have a little bit of both, where you can use one for most of your drawings and for filling in, I would get to 0.35. If you want something to add a lot of details, but not so tiny that it takes forever, is the 0.18. Now they do make smaller than the 0.18. They make the 0.1 as well. You can just look online. They've got all those sizes on there. Now I've only got 3 different sizes of pen. One of them is not working right now. I've just got these 2, but maybe in the future, if I've got all the pen sizes, I'll do a comparison and we'll go over that. But I would recommend the 0.35 for doing most of your drawings. And if you've got really smooth paper, that is one thing. Make sure you have smooth paper when you're drawing with these so that you don't damage the pen. That'll keep you from having to try to press in the paper to try to get your line down. And if you're having to press, then you need smoother paper. So just make sure you have smooth paper, and that'll keep the nib of the pen from when it's gliding across the paper. The tiny little bumps that are on the paper, if the nib catches that, it's going to drag across the paper, catch the bump, and it's going to bend it. So these are the 2 pens that I use for doing my drawings. Do most of the drawings in really smooth paper, such as really smooth Bristol paper and moleskin sketchbooks. I also do have the Favignano sketchbook I use, and that's a really smooth paper as well. But just make sure you stay away from rough papers. So hopefully that answers your questions, and let me know in the comments below if you have any questions about these pens or for anything else art related. And until then, thank you for watching. give us a like, share it with your friends. Check out links below if you'd like to support this channel or if you would like to buy any prints. And until then, thank you for watching and have fun doodling. I'll see you later.